Hey, listen, I'll tell y'all now, they on the Snapchat, so they gonna be on y'all ass, y'all, if y'all recording this. They gonna be on your ass. They gonna be on your ass. Your ass is a witness. Hey, don't hit them.
Minneapolis is burning again, and the footage coming out of the city is absolutely wild. We have federal agents under siege, politicians gaslighting on live TV, and a president threatening the nuclear option. You need to see this timeline.
Back to the breaking news out of Minnesota. President Trump making a new significant threat, warning once again that he will invoke the Insurrection Act to stamp out increasingly tense clashes between protesters and federal law enforcement. Overnight, chaos erupted near the site of a second shooting involving a federal agent. The Department of Homeland Security says the agent shot a Venezuelan national in the leg after that person began to resist arrest and, quote, violently assault one of those officers. Earlier, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was asked how President Trump will decide whether he will invoke the Insurrection Act.
That's only a question, frankly, Reagan, the president can answer. But the Insurrection Act is a tool at the president's disposal. And I think the president's Truth Social post spoke very loud and clear to Democrats across this country, elected officials who are using their platforms to encourage violence against federal law enforcement officers, who are encouraging left-wing agitators to unlawfully obstruct legitimate law enforcement operations.
Okay, pause. We need to understand the gravity of what we just heard. The Insurrection Act isn't something a president just throws around lightly. It is essentially the ultimate break glass in case of emergency tool. It allows the military to be deployed domestically to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, or rebellion. The fact that we are even talking about this in 2026 shows how completely the situation in Minneapolis has deteriorated. Trump isn't just sending a warning here. He's drawing a line in the sand. He's looking at Governor Walz and the local leadership and effectively saying, if you can't or won't maintain order, I will do it for you. And honestly, looking at the trajectory of these clashes, where you have federal agents actually discharging weapons and being swarmed, the local containment strategy has clearly failed. This is a massive escalation in rhetoric, but it matches the escalation in the streets.
We did see tensions rise overnight, and they're only continuing to rise following this other officer-involved shooting of a Venezuelan immigrant just 1 week after Renee Nicole Good was killed by an ICE officer right here. So we did hear from President Trump today threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, especially after the unrest in Minneapolis overnight. Secretary Noem even coming out saying he has the power to do that. What you're seeing on screen is actually left over from where protesters had broken into FBI vehicles. The city of Minneapolis actually cleaning that up this morning. One of the workers telling me that they would just be throwing it away. One of the protesters was able to grab a document that had FBI agents' names and phone numbers on it as well. But Minneapolis police say that an unlawful assembly was declared after a protest erupted on the scene with people throwing fireworks, rocks, and ice at officers. Federal officers also deploying tear gas, flashbangs, pepper spray. Now, DHS says that just before 7 o'clock, federal officers were conducting a targeted traffic stop of a Venezuelan migrant. And DHS says the man tried to flee the scene, crashing his car into a parked car, and officers caught up with the subject. Two people then came out of a nearby apartment, and DHS says that they all attacked officers with a snow shovel and a broom. And the officer, fearing for his life, fired in self-defense at the initial subject's leg, DHS says. And all three did run from officers, barricading themselves inside an apartment, and then eventually they were able to take all three into custody. Minneapolis officials are stressing to protesters not to take the bait and to refer to the
Hey, listen, I'll tell y'all now, they on the Snapchat, so they gonna be on y'all ass, y'all, if y'all recording this. They gonna be on your ass. Your ass is a witness. Hey, don't hit them.
This is terrifying. We are watching a complete breakdown of civil order. Did you catch the details there? Agents getting attacked with snow shovels and brooms? It sounds bizarre, almost like a cartoon, until you realize these agents were backed into a corner, fearing for their lives, and had to use lethal force. And then you look at that raw footage. That isn't a peaceful assembly. That is a mob. When you see a group of people swarming a vehicle, smashing windows, and looting federal property, that is the definition of a riot. The most disturbing part is the sheer numbers. This isn't 5 or 10 people. This is a massive crowd that feels completely emboldened to attack law enforcement. And pay attention to the tactical response, or lack thereof. You see the flashbangs, you see the tear gas, but the crowd isn't dispersing. They're regrouping. That tells me these agitators are organized, they're experienced, and they aren't afraid of the local police response anymore.
Minneapolis Police have secured the crime scene around the location, and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, as well as the FBI, are on the scene processing the evidence. There's a crowd gathered in the area, and we have called for mutual aid from the Minnesota State Patrol and Hennepin County Sheriff. The crowd is engaging in unlawful acts. They have thrown fireworks at police officers, and at multiple times, gas has been deployed. Police are attempting to disperse this unlawful assembly at this time. I urge anyone that is at the scene to leave immediately.
A smiling photo of the suspect. This is Julio Cesar Sosa Celis, who is smiling inside of an ambulance, we are told last night, after being shot in the leg. This is being confirmed through us through multiple DHS and ICE sources that this is indeed the suspect. There are going to be more photos, but this is the first of several that we are told exist. Paul, I'll get your reaction to that.
I mean, well, you can see the environment that he's been living in. The fact that they felt empowered, the other two pieces felt empowered to come running out of the apartment and attack an armed ICE officer tells you what the atmosphere is there and how empowered they feel.
The contrast between these two clips is actually infuriating. First, you have the police chief, who looks exhausted, practically begging people to go home. He's calling it an unlawful assembly. He's talking about fireworks being thrown at his officers. He is trying to hold the line. And then you have that guy, the suspect, shot in the leg after allegedly attacking a federal agent. And what is he doing in the ambulance? He's smiling. He's grinning like he just won the lottery. That smile tells you everything you need to know about the state of our justice system and the mindset of these criminals. There is zero fear, zero remorse. He knows the political climate in Minnesota. He likely assumes he'll be out on bail by tomorrow morning with a GoFundMe page set up in his honor. That smirk is a direct mockery of every law enforcement officer risking their life on those streets tonight. It's the face of a man who knows the system is broken.
Joining me now is Robin Wansley, a Democrat on the Minneapolis City Council. I want to start with this. The president has just amped things up, saying he is threatening to use the Insurrection Act if things do not calm down there in Minneapolis, in Minnesota. What is your response to that?
Yeah, so just first want to offer clarification. I am the city's first Black Democratic Socialist city council member, minority leader. I'm not a Democrat, so wanted to offer that clarification. In terms of Trump threatening to use the Insurrection Act, I don't think any of us on the ground here are surprised. What Trump has been inching to do since he first deployed ICE agents to Minneapolis about 6 weeks ago was really to build to this place where he can normalize using his administrative powers to go to war with local cities who do not fall in alignment with his administration's political goals, which is to divide people, terrorize people, keep people in poverty, deprive working class people of their basic needs and also their civil liberties.
If they did, in fact, have some sort of weapons to use to attack the ICE officer, would that change your opinion of whatever unfolded next?
Actually, no, right? Because from our vantage point, we wanted to make sure and always want to make sure that Minnesotans are being dealt with properly. And when we think in terms of any pursuit or any apprehension of anyone, there's a way for you to do your work where it's respectful and it's fair. We unfortunately have seen ICE not be respectful, not be fair, but to be illegal and to attack and to be very aggressive with Minnesotans. And to see that the federal government has made a decision to attack and send more and more agents here and allow them to be allow them to misbehave, we think that's a tragedy and a travesty.
I genuinely cannot believe what I just watched. You have elected officials, people sworn to uphold the law, going on national television and running defense for people attacking federal agents. The council member calling the reporter a hack for simply asking about the facts, that's pure deflection. She doesn't want to answer the question because the answer destroys her narrative. But the senator, that was even worse. He was asked a direct hypothetical. If they had weapons, would that change your opinion? And he said, no. Think about the logic there. He is saying that even if a federal agent is being attacked with a deadly weapon, they still shouldn't defend themselves? That is an impossible standard. It puts a target on the back of every officer. These politicians are more concerned with their ideological purity and protecting their voting base than they are with the safety of the community or the lives of the officers protecting it. This is why the chief looks so tired. He's fighting a war on the streets and a war against his own city council.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 US citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer.
White House has now responded. Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, and Democrat leaders in Minnesota have done nothing but turn up the temperature, smear heroic ICE officers, and incite violence against them, all in the defense of criminal illegal aliens. In Minnesota, ICE has arrested rapists, drug traffickers, domestic abusers, and more, despite the Democratic opposition. The Trump administration will protect the American people and enforce the law without apology.
Finally, we see some pushback. The White House isn't playing the polite game anymore. That exchange in the briefing room was brutal, but necessary. The reporter tries to frame the narrative around ICE aggression, and the press secretary flips it immediately to the victims of migrant crime, Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungray. She is refusing to let the media frame the aggressors as the victims here. And that final statement regarding Governor Walz, that is a scorched earth response, calling out the governor and the mayor by name, accusing them of inciting violence and smearing officers. That is a declaration of political war. The federal government is done asking nicely. They are making it clear. If the local leaders continue to side with the rioters over the law, the feds are going to step in, and they are going to play hardball. We are watching a constitutional crisis unfold in real time, and it's going to get much uglier before it gets better. This situation in Minnesota is developing fast, and the divide between local and federal leadership has never been wider. I want to know your take. Does that suspect smile prove the system is too soft? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the raw truth the mainstream ignores. Stay safe out there.